Hey, thanks so much for finding the video. Do us a favor. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe. Be sure to leave your comment. We love to interact. Enjoy the video. Let me just first start with your reaction here. And both quarterbacks yesterday speak with the media, and obviously Sean Payton. Any big takeaway from you yesterday?
Not really. I just, other than, just hearing them talk about getting together for the first time all off season. Both guys are saying the right things. Both guys appear to be doing the right things. It's still very, very early in the process. And both guys obviously have their strengths and weaknesses, but it feels like they're taking the right approach to this thing. It doesn't feel like there's any animosity or any sort of division over who they think should or shouldn't win the job. I thought both guys were pretty stand up in terms of their feelings about the other quarterback. So I think overall pretty straightforward, and I guess let the competition begin or the competition continue. I'm not sure how much they're getting done at this whatever abbreviated, modified all-season plan other than getting some individual work. But, hey, I guess something's better than nothing, and I guess we just wait and see.
Sean, you've covered the Saints for a long time, but it's odd, even though as long as you've covered them, you've still never covered a quarterback competition because it's been that long since they've actually had one. So do you honestly believe, I guess it's just a matter of opinion, that this is a real competition, or is it just Jameis Winston and the rest is just optics?
No, I tend to believe it's real, just because based off what I'm hearing from Taysom Hill, what I'm hearing from Jameis Winston, the coaching staff. I think at the end of the day, Sean Payton is going to put whoever puts his team in the best chance to win on the field. I can understand why it feels like Jameis Winston's in the lead, given the fact that he is, a former number one overall pick, a guy that's a true quarterback in the sense of that's the position he plays, whereas Taysom is a guy that's, kind of in the jack of all trades sort of thing. And, we've seen both guys on the field, and like I said before, both have strengths, both have weaknesses. But I can understand why there's a feeling right now Jameis would be in the lead. But I'm just here to tell you, Matt, it's not going to be decided by all-season workout videos or, media impression of leadership via Zoom conferences. It's going to be on-field decision-making is going to determine this outcome. And I think, realistically, I do think it's a legitimate competition in that regard. I do think Taysom has a few things working against him, not just from purely quarterbacking, but the fact that I don't think this roster is as strong as it's been in years past or as deep. Perhaps his versatility is more valuable there. And, being good at other areas might hurt him in terms of he also has to be better than I guess, not just the better quarterback, but also he has to be better than what he would give, based off what he would give at other positions as well. So I do think I can understand why people feel like Winston's in the lead, but I do think there is a quarterback competition here.
Sean, how do you feel about the Saints not doing on-field work during the OTAs and minicamps?
I was a little taken back by that. I'll be very honest with you. Last year, when obviously they had no opportunity, I don't think there was a huge panic. Remember, they were the first team to say, don't worry about it, come back in shape in late July. It ended up being the right call because at that point the NFL hadn't made the call, but it ended up happening anyway. But, that team returned 85-90% of their players, most of their starters from the season ago. So you had a team that really knew each other and, had a lot of chemistry and that sort of thing. So I felt like it was easier for that team to pick up where they left off, and just in terms of chemistry and that sort of thing. But you talk about a team that's got, I counted 8 new starters at least this year, not to mention, certain reserves at certain positions. And I already said I just don't know from a depth standpoint. They got to develop that depth, how strong they're going to be there. And they've had one of the deepest rosters in football over the last, 3 or 4 seasons since they've gone on this, this run from, 2017 on. So I was a little bit surprised that they haven't got more on-field work, because it feels like with the transition, and not just at quarterback, but in a lot of different positions, there's a pretty big turnover here that you would think you want to get those guys on the field as much as possible. But that's the deal they struck, and I guess that's what they're going with.
Sean Fazande's with us, Fox 8 New Orleans, on Twitter at Sean Fazende, Fox 8. They restructured Marshawn Lattimore's contract, because of course they did, to free up some cap space. And they got a little more than $6 million freed up after signing the draft picks. We heard about Dre Kirkpatrick coming in. Any word on how that went or any type of timeline with adding free agents?
Yeah, I tried to get an update on that today, but was unsuccessful. If he's still on the visit, if the visit happened today, if it went well, have not got any confirmation on that one way or the other. I do know that Kirkpatrick is a guy that they like, obviously. And at this stage of the game, you're getting a little low on veteran options that's available in the open market. I mean, you may have to make a trade at some point if you really want to go bigger. And he's a guy that can play man coverage. He's a 6'2". He's a little bit bigger corner. I think he's a guy that could work at this stage of the game, is at least to pencil into that starter opposite Janoris Jenkins. I don't know if he's an upgrade over Jenkins, but I can understand the interest. I don't know where they stand with that, but I do know this. They're running out of options here, and that position is an absolute must. It has to get filled. You just cannot go with what you currently have on your roster right now.
Is there another position that you feel that strongly, or after cornerback, what would be next as far as the need?
No, I can make a case for another linebacker to be brought in. Although there are some transitioning, some guys, Zack Baun says they're working at the weak side position, and obviously they drafted Pete Werner. But I can see the need for a veteran presence there. Defensive tackle next to David Onyemata. Defensive tackle, people forget, was probably the deepest position on the team a year ago, and all of a sudden you don't have Rankins, you don't have Malcolm Brown, and go check the stats with Malcolm Brown. Missed the games he missed last year, the rushing stats, the rushing numbers, they all went down. So I can make a case for a defensive tackle as well. And then obviously on the other side of the ball, wide receiver would be the biggest, although I have gotten the impression and was told that they're probably a little higher on that wide receiver room than perhaps we are on the outside. I guess we'll see. I think Peyton has proven that he's been able to make do at that position, but I could certainly see I can certainly make a case for a veteran addition at that group as well.
Hey, Sean, go back to Baun for a second. Do you think he is a viable option at weak side backer to be a starting weak side linebacker?
To be honest, not from what I saw last year, it would have to be a huge jump to make that kind of call and start him at the will position. And let's just say, for the sake of argument, they don't sign a veteran, and you have Pete Werner and you have Zack Baun, and you have DeMario Davis. At some point, two of those three, whatever combination, has got to work. And that would be a big jump for Baun from where he's. It wasn't just like he played strong side linebacker last year. His entire college career, he was at the line of scrimmage rushing passer. So it's a totally different just approach to defensive football than he's really ever had. So I think that would be a big jump. He says it's going good. Sean Payton says it's going good. But, you have a guy like Pete Werner, who I think is probably more suited for the Mike position. But they said when he was drafted that he might be a will just because of, as a rookie. Because I just think DeMario Davis can play probably because of his natural instincts and aggressiveness. But in Zack Baun's case, I think that would be a big jump from a guy that, that doesn't have a whole lot of time on task at that position.
Sean, a couple more, and Sean Fazande's with us, Fox 8 New Orleans. Follow him on Twitter at Sean Fazande, Fox 8. Was also interested to hear Cesar Ruiz say that he's working at right guard, because I think the general thought had been he would with a full offseason, would transition to center and McCoy would go to right guard. Do you get the sense that that's going to hold the line as it was last year?
At least it's going to start that way. And I'm like you. I thought maybe they would have split reps, or perhaps they would have, try to, mix and match some combinations. But perhaps this is where that lack of, full teams it comes into play at the off season. Perhaps when we get into training camp, and it's going to be best five regardless. It's just a matter of, is it better suited for McCoy, who played really well at center the last couple of years, and Ruiz at guard, with McCoy at center, or Ruiz's natural position at center and McCoy over the guard. But McCoy's played center for quite a while now, going back to his days at Texas A&M. So I think that determined how I thought there were times last year at the guard position Ruiz looked lost. In fact, I thought you can make a case that Nick Easton was the better out guard position. And if you saw, basically Easton started quite a few games last year before he got hurt. So I do think that is going to be something to monitor once we get into training camp, because I don't know, size-wise and technique-wise, McCoy fits the bill more for a guard than a center. But if he's more natural at center and it gives you a better, production as a whole in a group of 5 at the offensive line, then I guess I got to go with that.
Sean, before you go, what's next if you would just kind of set the calendar of what we should be on the lookout for?
Yeah, they'll finish mini camp, which I guess this modified mini camp, which was a week earlier this year.
Yeah.
This was a week earlier, so they basically moved mini camp up a week, call it mini camp, but it's basically whatever they've been doing. Then Sean Payton said they're going to hold the rookies back for I guess a few days after mini camp, and they're off until the end of July, and I believe it's the 28th. Actually, you know what? They haven't released the official date of when training camp will start, but this is their time where they go and they really unplug, and and that long stretch of I guess rest and relaxation. But I guess this whole off season's been a little bit like that, just in terms of less work in the off season. But that'll be next, and then once you get to training camp, obviously it's full speed ahead. And it's interesting with the 3 preseason games, and Sean Payton had said they're treating the third preseason game like a third preseason game, not the final preseason game. Mm-hmm. So I'll be curious how they approach that with the abbreviated preseason as well.
Of course, we'll be following along. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at Sean Fazende, Fox 8, from Fox 8 there in New Orleans. Always appreciate a couple of minutes, man. Thank you.
Thanks, bud.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.